Have you ever wondered how climate change is affecting the tropics? Why it is warm and wet at the equator and suddenly warm and dry further away? And how that is affected by climate change. The climate affects almost everything on Earth, from basic daily choices to the survival of life on Earth. For example, it affects your holiday destinations, but it also affects more fundamental aspects, such as the right time to harvest vegetables, the survival of species and ecosystems, and the livelihood success, and so on. Therefore, it is vital we understand what the driving mechanism of climate patterns are. And publicly, much is known about the effects of climate change in colder regions, such as the ice cap melting, but that's not the same for the tropics. However, the tropics cover about 40% of the Earth's surface and harbor about 78% of all plants and animal species. Therefore, we will now explain you the mechanism behind climate in the tropics and how that is altered by climate change. As you can see here, the main mechanism is explained by Hadley cells. There are two Hadley cells, one above and one below the equator, with similar characteristics and mechanisms. And as you can see in the colors, the heat from the sun is distributed unevenly across the Earth. Near the equator, the heat is greatest and therefore shown in red. And as you can see, the warm air rises there. But why, do you wonder by now? Well, warm air is less dense than cool air, which causes it to rise. Just like when you boil water, the steam comes off. And we will now see an animation of how that works. We can see that the polar heating forces the moist air above tropical oceans to rise. And as it rises, it cools down and water vapor condenses into clouds and rains. And the hotter the air, the more rain it can hold. And this results in tropical rains and storms. As we can see, the air moves forward as it condenses, sinks, and releases rain. And near the surface, the flow returns at around 30 degrees latitude, absorbing moisture along the way. And this closes the loop of the Hadley cell. But how are the Hadley cells affected by climate change? And what will it change in the tropics? Well, with increasing temperatures, the Hadley cell is expanding poleward. It has already shifted a few latitudinal degrees. At 30 degrees latitude, large changes in precipitation are seen, and there are also longer periods of drought. Therefore, deserts are increasing in size, for example. But at low altitudes in the tropic, changes are seen as well. This is caused by changes in the intertropical convergence zone, the ITZC, which is part of the Hadley cells.
In the convergence zone, the trade winds of the northern and southern hemispheres converge at the equator. The belt oscillates from the northern to the southern tropics over the year, in line with the movement of the sun. The ITZZ has narrowed due to global warming and will narrow further in the future. What will be the consequences? Some areas within the ITZZ will be drier, other wetter, and floods will occur more. At the same time, these unstable water events are becoming less predictable. Conclusively, Hadley cells are the driving mechanism for climate patterns in the tropics, and global warming is changing it. These changes have large effects on the tropical climate. For instance, floods in Bangladesh are forcing both humans and animals to migrate northward. Longer droughts in the Amazon rainforest alter ecosystems, threatening species and ecosystem services. And many more examples can be found. Therefore, it is time to reshape our idea about climate change. Not only the colder regions experience extreme climate changes, the tropics are also severely affected. And changes in the Hadley cells will have detrimental effects on people, animals, and plants in the tropics. Are you interested to find out which and how many species are threatened by these changes in the tropics? Here we have made a list, and you can add your species of interest in the appendix.